You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Addressing Gettysburg. As you know, we are doing interviews with the actors and crew and townspeople, anybody we could get our hands on who had anything to do with making the movie Gettysburg. And, of course, it's most fun to start with the people whose faces we recognize. And that's why we've been going with the actors so far. And one of them is on the phone with me today. He played Winfield Scott Hancock. His real name, though, is Brian Mallon. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Thanks a lot, Matt.
You're very welcome. Thank you for doing this.
Glad to be here.
I appreciate this. You're all the way in Dublin, right?
Yeah, Dublin, Ireland, yeah.
Now, you're not originally from there, though, are you?
No, I'm not. No, this time I'm living here for the last 7 years. But since I've been an adult, I've been back and forth for 2-3 years at a time in Dublin, you know?
Right.
And so it's sort of a long-term thing, you know?
Is it a place that kind of captured you, that you fell in love with, that you had to go to?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I taught myself to speak Irish language, Gaelic, when I was about 13. And so I used to run when I moved to New York. In 76. I went to the Irish Art Center and I taught Irish there for a long time. And it was amazing because I was in a play within about 4 days of arriving in town. They had an Irish theater there and they put me in a play right off the bat, you know?
Right.
And so it was a great, way to jump into the theater, which is what I had intended, you know? It was great.
And so is theater your main passion, your love?
Well, yes. I would say that because of the kinds of stuff that I like to do and everything, you know? And I'm very happy to do a film when they come up, you know?
To you, what is the major difference? Obviously there's a camera and an audience. That's the huge difference. But acting-wise, what's the difference between film and stage?
Well, if I go on stage, like I have a one-man show about Richard Burton, and it's an hour and 20 minutes. And when I step out in front of that audience, I'm on my own for, an hour and 20, having to come up with every line and whatnot. I've never actually missed a line in it, knock on wood. But that's a huge difference than all this sort of piecemeal stop and start kind of thing that you get in a film, you know?
Yeah, so in a film, to do maybe like 5 lines of dialogue, depending on camera angles, they might have you do one at a time, or depending on various things, I would imagine, they would have you do one at a time. So what do you have to do? Like, how do you keep it so that when they edit it together, it sounds like you spoke it all at once?
Well, you just, you have it, you work it out in your head, or you're reacting to the other character,
right?
The other actor, and so you just kind of know that where it's at and how it goes, you know.
Yeah.
And that's just up to a good editor to make it run as smoothly as they can. You know?
And they can always have you overdub the lines in a different way. If
that was needed. It's never been needed for me anyway.
Well, there you go.
What I'm doing when I get out there.
So now, your one-man show about Richard Burton, first of all, that's a great idea because you could definitely pass for Richard Burton. So how did you get that idea? I'm assuming you're a big fan.
Well, actually, his daughter, Kate Burton, talked me into it. And I had done another show that Ellen Burstyn directed me in called Secrets of the Celtic Heart, which was all Welsh poetry. Mm-hmm. And I was doing that in Edinburgh. And this fellow, who turned out to be a cousin of Richard Burton's, his daughter saw me in this thing and told her father that I should be doing that show that he'd written called Playing Burton. That I would be perfect for it and better than whoever he had going, you know. Mm-hmm. So he contacted me and I went over and we rehearsed it in Oxford, which was great fun. And I went on with it, and it was fun. When we opened the Wales Millennium Centre, eventually in Cardiff, and Burton's family all turned up. It was exciting. His brother Graham was there, and it was very scary to have them in the front row. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And and they afterward in the bar, he finally nods over to me to come over. And then he looks over his shoulder and all this kind of stuff. And he says, tell me this. Were you wearing lifts in your shoes when you were on stage? And I said, well, I was, but I'm certainly not now. And he looks around again like somebody might be listening. And he says, so did Richard. You're exactly the same size from head to foot.
Oh, nice.
And then he says, his niece was beside him, Sean. And she says, oh, there's praise coming from Caesar. And he says, no. He says, that was our Richard all over the stage tonight. Oh. But I had one big fucking problem. And I thought, uh-oh, here it comes. And he says, you didn't smoke enough. Which was very faint damn, Because you can't, he said, our Rich wouldn't be 1 minute without a fag in his go.
Yeah, those were the days, man. Those guys were always walking around with cigarettes.
Oh, them and their drinks
and their whiskey. Yep. Yeah, so you're obviously you have. Obviously you're Irish, and you've got a lot of pride in that and everything. Was that something you always had, even as a kid, or is that something that you kind of grew to appreciate as you got older?
Since I can remember, I used to listen to my grandfather's stories, and my grandparents were from Ireland, really, and they would tell me he had all Irish history, he had everything,
Yeah.
And he learned some Gaelic when he was, before he left. And so it was just a lifelong fascination, It sort of shaped my life, really. Ended up running the Irish Arts Centre in New York for a while.
And didn't you do something I don't know if this was in New York or where this was, but we recently had Tim Ruddy on. And didn't you guys do something together, theater-wise?
Oh, yeah. We were in, the biggest thing was a production of Translations in Los Angeles at the Celtic Arts Center, and we won. It was a mostly Irish cast, and we won 7 Dramalogue Awards. I got one for Best Actor for playing Manus, and Tim was in that, and he was playing my brother. And we were great pals. Tim was a great fellow.
Yeah, he was pretty cool to talk to. All right, but where does it start? The journey for you does not start in Ireland. You're from Michigan originally, am I correct?
Well, that's right. And then it was really just, I went to University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, and I went to New York to get into theater. And as I say, it was the Irish Arts Center first stop. And I was in just tons and tons of plays there, one after another. We'd be rehearsing one while we did the other. And you always, you always hope that somebody will be sitting out there that will, first of all, get you an agent or get you a job or something in the films. Really, that's what everybody wants when they're doing those things.
Sure.
And eventually, I went out to Los Angeles to the Celtic Arts Center, which had been founded by the same person as the Irish Arts Center, so it was a connected thing. And we did this production of Brian Friel's Translations, and it's the most wonderful play and everything. And one night, Ron Maxwell came to see it, and we were
He saw you perform.
We were told then that a night or two later, I didn't talk to him that night, but I did actually, and he was over the moon about the production. But then we were told that he was coming back with producers to see an actor, And actually, at the time, I thought it was Tim and not myself that they were coming back to see, just because of the chat outside that night, and. But anyway, so his other producers liked my work in it, and he made an appointment. Well, anyway, said he was going to come down and see me to talk about a project. And at this point, I didn't even know what the project was,
Right.
And I was singing. We had the Cafe Beckett that I used to run there, actually, on Hollywood Boulevard. And I was singing something, and Ron sitting at a table, and I came back down, sat with him. And we just started chatting, and an Apache Indian that I knew there comes up wearing a Union general's hat. And Ron laughed and said, "I like your hat, and this fellow came over and he put it on my head, and then Ron was just laughing, and he thought it was so funny because I didn't know that he was there to talk about the Civil War film,
right,
or any of this, you know what I mean? So it was pretty amazing, anyway. And then actually the Apache told me to keep the hat, it suited me. And then Ron told me that he had this thing. And actually, initially, he was talking to me about playing Kilrain. And then that very quickly switched over to General Hancock, which I was delighted about that.
Oh, sure.
He became my favorite character as I read up on everything. I just liked him.
Oh, he's one of my favorite generals at this battle, for sure. He's an interesting guy. So, all right, so before we get into Gettysburg, though, let's just kind of dabble around beforehand. How old were you at this point?
Let me think. Well, I was just 39, I think.
39, okay. So you're just about 40, so you've been acting since you were, a teenager, you said?
Well, not really. I'd say 20.
20, okay, like college
20,
age.
20-something, early 20s.
Yeah, okay. So you've been going at it for 20 years, and you've been working all this time, right?
Oh, yeah, on stage.
Yes,
yes.
Yeah.
And I had gotten into the Actors Studio. They made me a life member back in '84.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then when you get it now, like you had mentioned before, that everybody, they have stars in their eyes. They want to get into film and all that stuff when they start acting. Was that always something you wanted to do, or were you happy in the theater? If I'm in the theater the rest of my life and I never get a film, I'll be fine.
Well, you would say that out loud, but everybody would like to be doing films when they can.
Yes.
And they, it's. I mean, for one thing, there's money,
right?
And for another thing, there's the fact that these things don't disappear. They're not ephemeral like the stage work.
Right.
You either saw it or you didn't see it on stage, and yet, all these years later, we can watch these performances still. So that's an important thing. And it was amazing that after all those years in New York, just that one play in L.A., landed me a film. It was great.
And so this is your first film, Gettysburg?
Well, I had done very small things. And
right.
I was in one with Pacino, a little thing called The Local Stigmatic, in a small part, but there were only 5 of us actors in that. So,
okay.
Anyway, but not really. I didn't,
Right.
I didn't have much.
I mean, this is your first big film.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how now? So not only is it your first big film, but you're shooting it mostly outdoors. So is there a big adjustment that you have to make going from theater to outdoors?
Not really, because you're mic'd and you've got all that. I don't remember any problem with any of that.
Uh-huh.
You're just you're there, or and some of my scenes were inside and whatnot.
Okay, so you get. Oh, and let me ask you this: do you remember those interior scenes, like where you're at Meade's headquarters and Meade comes in at night?
Yeah.
Do you remember where? Because Bo and I were talking about this, and he couldn't remember. Where did they shoot the interiors? Do you remember?
I don't. It was in a studio, right?
Yeah, I think so. The best answer we've got going that I've heard from a local was that there was a Morton building built out on the farm where you filmed the battle scenes, and inside the Morton building is where they built the sets.
Well, that sounds correct to me, but isn't it amazing that I don't actually remember that?
Yeah, but why would you?
Yeah, I know. It wasn't important anyway. Yeah.
Right. That's something only like nerdy people like me want to know, you know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, but now when you get the role of Hancock, what's the first thing you did to prepare for it?
Well, I got a hold of a bunch of books, you know, and I read through them, and I really liked the character, you know. And, of course, you read the, Killer Angels and all that first, but then it was books about Hancock. And I got quite a few of them and all that, you know. And actually, Sam Elliott was very nice. He had somebody do a bunch of research for him. And he gave me a bunch of research that they had on my character.
Oh.
That was very helpful. It was very nice of him.
Yeah, that is nice. I hear he's a real cool guy.
Oh my God, that was one of the funnest things in the whole deal was just hanging out with him.
Yeah,
he would come over and hang out in the Farnsworth pub, and I'd always hang out with him, and we go to dinner and this and that kind of thing, you know. And he's just great fun to talk to, you know.
Yeah, I would imagine. Now, I hear a lot from. I've so far I think I believe all the actors I've interviewed from the movie have been Confederate actors. I think you're the first Union actor.
That sounds like the whole first part of the film. Ron had me there from day one, and it was all Confederates around, you know?
Right.
And I have to say that, by and large, they were much more fun crowd than when the Union actors come in. I mean, I'd have to admit that, we were like, they called us the Irish Brigade anyway, me and my friends that were around. I mean, in the pub they did, but these people, they were all great characters and all that, you know. And the other actors that came along, they tended more to talk about real estate and golfing and things like that. You know,
isn't that funny? And I mean, because I have friends who are reenactors, and they say the same thing. The Confederate reenactors are a lot more fun. And the Union reenactors do their taxes at night when they come out and do the reenactment for the weekend.
Well, I guess just being a rebel is a thing, you know.
I guess so. But so a lot of the the Farnsworth House is known as the officers' quarters for the Army of Northern Virginia. So it's good to know that they allowed you Yankees in there as well. So it wasn't just the Southern actors hanging out there. It was everybody hanging out there.
Everybody hung out there, yeah. Oh, definitely, yeah. But we were thin on the ground at that point.
Right.
So it was me and most of my Irish buddies that were in the film.
Yeah, there's a lot of Irish guys in this film. Is that because who else besides you and Tim got plucked from that play that Ron Maxwell came to see you in?
Well, no others from that play that I can think of, but two friends of mine, Barry McAvoy and Con Horgan, were also in some scenes, you know. Uh-huh. And they had small parts and whatnot, but they were there in the pub.
Right.
Yeah.
Are there any memories, like any particular anecdotes or anything that really sticks out as your brightest memory from that experience?
It'd be hard to say that, to be honest. At the moment, nothing comes to mind. It was just all such fun, you know.
Yeah. Were you interested in history prior to getting that role?
Oh, I've always been interested in history. Yeah, I've since then I've written a 800-page historical novel about Shane O'Neill. He was an Irish chieftain in Elizabethan times, the 1500s. Uh-huh. And but I researched that thing for about 30 years. So history has always been something for me, and Civil War history is very interesting.
Yeah,
my mother's mother had a great uncle that was in the war.
Oh, okay.
Michigan. Yeah.
Was he here at Gettysburg?
No, he wasn't. He was elsewhere at that time, I think. But he was one of those young ones who signed up at age 15 or 14 or something or other, and then went through the whole thing.
Now, so for a while, I believe. Oh, actually, I know because I met you at one of them. For a while, you would come to some of the reenactments that they'd have here in Gettysburg and dress as Hancock and do autographs and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, whenever I was invited, I tried to make my way down. Yeah.
I have a picture of my friend and I with you. I don't remember which reenactment it was. It was a Gettysburg one. I don't remember which anniversary, but I remember we were walking around the camps. And you stepped out of a tent, and I did a double take, and I said, hey, look, there's Hancock. And my friend looked, and he goes, oh, yeah, it looks just like him. And I go, no, that's the guy who played Hancock. And then we came over and chatted with you for a bit.
That was a thing. That was a great memory. I remember walking around. Was this at night?
No, it was during the day, blazing hot.
Well, at night or in the day, to walk through the reenactor camps. Was just such fun to meet everybody, and I remember singing some songs and things, and just the atmosphere in those camps was like it was like a reality of its own,
Yeah, it's
time travel.
Right. There's
such great people. The people were, everybody interesting, intelligent. Fun people, yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah. Back in the movie, there were reenactors, and now, where did they have you staying? Were you in a hotel in town, or did they get you a house, or?
Oh, I was in the Gettysburg Hotel, yeah.
Gettysburg Hotel.
Town.
So, did you happen to go mill about the reenactor camps during the shooting and get in with those guys, or what was when you had time off or some downtime? Like, what would you do? Just sleep?
Well, I did a lot of that. Yeah, different time. And I did have quite a bit of downtime initially. And, that was something I enjoyed. Or I'd watch the shooting,
You said that Ron had you there from the very beginning, even though he wasn't shooting with you in the very beginning. What was the reason for that?
Oh, I just say that we became pretty good friends. We're very good friends these days.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's all that was. I didn't know it. Why I was there, but I think that's what it was. Just anyway.
Liked having you around.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
And you got paid for that?
I did indeed.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty good. Yeah, man. That's
when I first
stuff.
showed up, they tried to put one of those horrible beards on me.
Yeah.
I had gone. From Manhattan out to Queens to have somebody make a plaster cast of my face so they could make this perfect beard.
Uh-huh.
And they put this thing on my face, and I looked like a nutcracker. It was just ridiculous looking,
Right.
And I spotted this. I was there. I wasn't shooting for 3 weeks, and I just thought, if I do this, it will ruin my performance. I will just look like a clown.
Sure.
And I said to Ron, if I can grow my own in that time, and he said, well, you'll never do it, but you can give it a shot. And I did, actually, when I had the 3 weeks, and I just did that.
So that's all you that we see. That's not a fake beard at all.
There's no fake beard on me at all in that film. No.
Very good.
I still have a photo of me in that, standing next to Tom Berenger and his. And I just had to laugh when I saw it,
Yes. His beard, you could tell like they're all fake, or most of them are fake, but that one takes the cake. Because that beard doesn't know what he wants to do from one shot to the next.
Well, yeah. It's like a hooky over the ears beard. Yeah. Well,
yes, exactly.
However, I don't. These guys might listen to this now. So.
No. It's okay. We've made fun of the beards on all of them. I interviewed Tom, and we made fun of the beards, so it's okay.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. He's such a great fella.
He really is. He very friendly. Honestly, I've had a great time talking to all of you guys. You've all been very nice and everything. Okay, so when the movie Gettysburg is finished and it comes out, what does that do for your career? Does it do anything for you?
It really didn't do what it should have done. I had a stupid agent who in New York who came out to L.A. and I wanted him to see it so that he could get people in to see it.
Yeah,
and all this kind of stuff. And he didn't come and see it until the opening. At which point, he didn't come to the screenings that I wanted him to go to anyway, like that. And I thought that was a bit strange. And then, no, he didn't. He was useless. And then he started sending me up for parts of generals with 2 or 3 lines in things, as if this is somebody who can only play a general.
Yes.
And anyway, I ended up firing him pretty quickly on that score.
But it does. It's one of those. I guess they would call it a cult classic. That movie, because it's.
I think it is really, which is wonderful. It was like to get your first big film like that and have it an important all-time film. Really, there's not many films say that get a 25-year reunion. Thing that we had a few years back.
Right. Yeah, it's very interesting. From my perspective, doing this show, I meet a lot of people, listeners and all that stuff. And, to a T, everybody is talking about how that movie was so influential to them. We went to, a couple of months ago, the Lutheran Seminary was having a fundraiser, and so they stayed open for 24 hours. And so my producer and myself went there to kind of cover it for them. And then we bumped into about, 5 or 6 other people who were all of our listeners. And after 10 o'clock, all the normal people went home, but all of us idiots stayed there all night. And at midnight, they played the movie Gettysburg. And we sat there and watched it, and I had never sat and watched it. I've only sat and watched it with an audience twice. That reunion that I met you at, and this night. And to sit there with a bunch of people that know the movie by heart is a completely different experience than watching it by yourself. It's actually kind of frightening that people know that people know a movie.
Or you could say exciting, yeah.
Or exciting, yeah. I mean, that people know, when he says this line, this music cue hits, and inside and out, people know this movie.
Oh, they do. It's definitely a cult classic. I think that's a good word for it.
And in this little cult, you guys are all big stars to us.
Yeah, which is wonderful. Really, it's great. When I do go to Gettysburg now and again, everybody knows who I am in that town.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's why Bo likes to keep coming back here. We go out and people go, "Oh, you're Bo? Oh, yeah." Now it's called classic and everything. But does that? And be honest, it's okay. We have a fun audience. Is it a little creepy though? Sometimes the way people just know the movie so well and kind of maybe think that you're actually Hancock. Do you ever get any of that?
Well, I just know that this is an important part of their life. This movie,
yes.
And all that, and it's they don't want to see me in pictures from other films or anything else. You know what I mean? It's like.
And you have done other films.
I have indeed.
Yeah. Name a couple of them.
Well, see, Some Other Son was a fine film. With Helen Mirren. It was about the hunger strikes in Northern Ireland, and that's a good one. And I played the guy running the H block prisons.
And what year did this come out?
96, I think. Yeah,
96. Okay, and with Helen Mirren, very nice, very nice.
Yeah, and then another called The IRA Informant. With Timothy Dalton.
Okay.
Where I played a Sinn Féin lawyer, a solicitor. Yeah.
Sinn Féin, what is that?
It would be the political party of the IRA. So,
Gotcha.
Nationalist political party. Yeah.
Right. Okay. But everybody loves you in Gettysburg. You're Hancock. Your delivery of the line "I might tell you" seems to have stuck in the ears of many of the people I know that have seen the movie a million times. And
do they like it or hate it?
They like it. They like it.
Yeah.
Like they repeat it. With a smile, like they'll say something, whatever. If you're having a conversation with them, whatever, they'll say whatever their point is, and then they go, "I might tell you," and they and we all know.
To me, it was an old-fashioned way of talking, American. I thought.
Yeah. No, I liked it,
and I tried to keep any of that in it. It's like when I was talking to Sam Elliott there. I chose to say when he says California, and I said, and I thought I just said California.
Yes.
Like it was an unfamiliar word,
right?
And that was a deliberate thing that I hadn't, And he told me later. He said, "Man, when you said that to me, I didn't picture palm trees, man. I pictured Old West." Everything,
Oh, that's interesting.
So he thought that was effective,
Yeah. Now the way that a person speaks. I mean, you obviously you can't listen to the real Hancock speak. There's no recording. So how do you decide? Because the way someone speaks is kind of an indicator of the way they think of themselves or the way their mind works or something like that. So how did you decide to portray him the way you did? Because he also seems kind of kindly in the way.
Well, I thought he was that kind of person. I thought that he was an affable fellow. And they said he swore a lot.
Yeah.
He was famous for that. And I just formed a picture of him in my head, and that's kind of what came out of it really,
Yeah. As
I read about him and his character and whatnot, I thought there was one time, when I got shot off the horse, the first time that we did it, it was perfect or whatever, but I said, God damn it to hell, when this thing, and so we had to shoot that again, and I didn't think it was quite as good, but that was like over the top. And I understood that later, that because the film would be shown in schools and things like that,
right?
That they had to be careful about all that. And I thought, but
what'd you end up saying?
I just formed an emotional picture of him, and that's whatever came out of it.
But you ended up saying "damn it all," right, or something like that.
Yeah, I did say "damn it all."
Yeah.
But for some reason, and that didn't have God and hell in it.
Could you imagine? I mean, God damn it all to hell! Like that's something so outrageous that nowadays that would fly in a kindergarten, instructional video.
Oh, exactly.
Or
something. But we're going back a ways now.
Yeah, 30 years or so.
30 years.
Yeah. Well, what? It came out in 93, so 92. It will be 30 years. This year.
It's nearly that.
Yeah. This year will be 30 years. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
So the Gods and Generals then comes out 10 years later. And how did that experience differ from Gettysburg, shooting it?
Well, it was a different. I had less to do, which, whatever. A number of my scenes kept getting cut before we'd shoot them, and that was not the most pleasant thing there. But then the most memorable thing to me in it was 9/11, because
right.
My brother Matt, I had just talked him into moving to New York, and he was staying in my apartment in Manhattan. And he got a job at the World Trade Center, and he was on the 100th floor that day. And so I was staying. We were in Virginia, and I in a motel I was, and got an early call from my mother, and she said, "Are you awake? Are you awake?" And she said, "A plane has just flown into the World Trade Center and hit the 100th floor. That's Matt's floor. Is he in the North Building or the South Building?" And I said, well, I was only there a few weeks ago, but I don't remember if it's the north or the south. And she said, well, turn on your television and pray that he's in the other one. And then when I saw what happened, no sooner got it on than they'd hit the other building.
Yeah.
And I thought there's no way that he could have gotten out of there in 17 minutes, if he was in the other building. And I just, I had talked him into moving there and everything. Well, in the afternoon, about 2 o'clock, I found out that he did get himself out of there, which was great. Yeah, and so everybody was miserable, and I was walking around like I'd won the lottery.
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, that had to be such a relief.
It was, and I had talked him into moving there, and, and I thought it's all going to be blamed on me too,
Yeah, so where was he?
He just got himself, they told them all on the speakers to stay. Do not leave the office, do not leave the building. And Matt just is not the type to listen to that.
Right.
And he grabbed his laptop and his coat, and the girl at the same desk said to him, we're not supposed to leave. They just told us we can't leave. Where do you think you're going? And Matt said, down. And she said, what's down there? And he said, Earth. and she actually followed him out, and they were the only two who survived out of that whole office.
Oh, my God.
It was an Irish insurance company called Aon, A-O-N. And they ran down the stairs from the 100th to the 78th floor, where you could get a 1-minute express elevator.
Right.
And he said that they were all laughing and talking and with their coffees and everything, and what could happen. And he said, I don't know, but I that building fall on this one. So he said 2 elevators opened up, and there was an announcement that they all had to return to their offices. 2 elevators, one going up, one going down, and they just crowded into the one huge elevator that was going back up. And he got in, and only 7 other people were in the elevator going down. And it was a 1-minute trip, and when they hit the bottom, the whole building shook because the plane came in,
Oh, Jesus.
And the wing came right through the floor where he got the elevator 1 minute ago.
Oh, my God. So he was in the South Tower. Yeah. Wow. What a story.
This is an amazing thing. But that was something else. And he came down to visit me then that weekend. They wanted him to go back to work 2 days later. And I said, you tell them to F off,
Yeah, really.
You need to see your kids, and you need all this. Anyway, and then he ended up coming down, and we had a great time. His son was on the film as well. His son Rory.
It was on Gods and Generals?
Okay. Yeah, in a small part, yeah.
Just as an aside, your brother, is he still around?
Oh yeah, he's fine. He's out in Michigan.
Do you think you'd be able to put me in touch with him? Because for the anniversary of 9/11 this year, I'm trying to interview one survivor a day for 5 days, and I want to hear.
Well, that would be interesting. Yeah, I will. We can. I'll do that on message you with it.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I appreciate it. So, okay, Gods and Generals. So it's shooting in Virginia. You have fewer scenes, but I mean, we got a couple of good scenes in there, though.
There's good scenes in it. Absolutely, there were. Yeah. I didn't mean that.
But it was Gods and Generals was more of a Stonewall Jackson homage. It looked like than any of the other people.
Yeah. Unfortunately, because because the
Stephen Lang?
Armistead.
Oh, Armistead. Richard Jordan.
Yeah, because Richard had died.
Right.
It would have been very difficult to do those scenes in California, which were initially, I think, in the script. Which would have been wonderful because there were some wonderful scenes in the book. But anyway, so that was out.
Yeah, no, right. So, right, I forgot he had died right after Gettysburg, I think. Is it true? Do you know, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm not sure if you're aware of how on Amazon Prime, when you watch a movie, there's like a trivia thing that you could pull up and read trivia as the movie goes along. So I was watching the trivia with while watching the movie Gettysburg, and it said that Ron Maxwell got the word that Richard Jordan died while they were in the middle of editing his death scene.
Yes, I believe that to be true. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. Yes.
Talk about coincidence.
And Richard Jordan was a very good friend of Ron's.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
They were old buddies. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, so. What do you believe? We just had a guy on not too long ago. He just recently put out a book called Armistead and Hancock, and it's about this relationship between Armistead and Hancock. Was it as strong as the movie portrays, or what was it really, I guess is really what he's going after. And what do you think? I mean, obviously, a lot of things in movies have to be romanticized and all that other stuff. But, I mean, do you think that the way that they were talking about each other in absentia was the way they really felt? Or do you think they were – what's the sense you got?
I really thought it was a very good depiction of sort of, longtime buddies. And you don't want to be firing across at your friend, one of your best friends, and he was. I think he was. Yeah. So I think the movie got that right, and it's just not something that many movies pick up on, But it'd be interesting to see what the new book has to say about that.
Over there in Ireland, is The Quiet Man as big a deal of a movie as it is over here in the United States for Irish Americans?
Oh, God, no. The Irish people are accustomed to scoffing on it, really.
Yeah, I figured.
First of all, they find it embarrassingly old-fashioned and whatnot. And the truth is that it wasn't... first of all, it was written by an Irish person from Galway.
Right. And
the humor of it is genuine, and the story was great. And as far as it being, they didn't like people thinking of them as old-fashioned people, in the 50s, this is. And yet, they were just about to put electricity through that area and they stopped for the filming and let them film it before the electric lines went in.
Oh, interesting.
Huh. So it's not, I don't think it is, but they just have their own deal with things that make them look a bit twee,
See, it's funny because over here, the Irish Americans look at that and we love it. Like, we celebrate the absurdity of it all, everything that real, like, Irish people in Ireland might be kind of offended by, we think is great. And we actually, unless you look a little further into it, most Irish Americans that I know, at least, think that that's actually how their people are, and which is
I think in a way it's right. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think they're right. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you think that what's right? That they're the people that think.
No, I think that it was a genuine,
depiction,
Irish story that was told exactly the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And it just still has charm and resonates charm. And when I first came to Ireland in the very early 70s, a lot of it was still like that. I stayed out on the Aran Islands, and there were no cars, and there was no electricity. It was just there were some gas lights and candles in Guinness bottles and things like that.
Wow.
And it was all thatched cottages and all the rest of it. Most of that is gone now. But you can still go to the Aran Islands for a lot of that.
That's pretty cool, though.
Out in the very far west, there's that's still to be seen.
There is a charm.
But it's
to
a very
that.
modern place.
Yeah.
Dublin today is a whole different city than it was when I first came here.
Oh, sure. Do you know where they filmed the Quiet Man?
In Mayo.
Mayo, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which is a beautiful place. Tim Ruddy's from there. Yeah.
I mean, it looks Ireland looks beautiful, and before I die, I'm going to go out there. But
well, you're a calorie, aren't you?
I am. Have you heard of calories out there?
Yeah, there's a lot of them about. Yeah.
Now you see, that's funny. Tim has said he never heard of any.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I've known a few. Yeah.
So now, how do they say it over there?
Calorie.
They do. Okay, because I had an Irish priest when I went to Catholic school. Second grade, and he was new, and he came around and to all the different classes to introduce himself, and he would go down the roster and learn our names, and he got to me and he called me Matthew Caleri. And
Caleri. Well, I have never heard it like that, but it could be somewhere local.
Yeah, so that's interesting because, and that's the thing is it's probably the same as over here where you have different regions with different accents and dialects and they say things differently. So it's probably the same everywhere else, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, that's interesting that it is just regular old cow. That's kind of disappointing, though, that I was hoping you were going to say Caleri because otherwise it's the same as the Americans say it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, the two people that I knew were calories.
Yeah. What is it that you liked about Gettysburg or doing Gettysburg the most? Like, what is your big, their fondest memory, I'll say, of that whole experience?
Well, I would just say that it was the capturing of the history,
Yeah.
To take something like that's it's always been monumental in American history, and you're actually living through it as an audience member, even, you're seeing it on the ground as it happened, the whole thing, and it just gives it a lot more meaning, than just a big conflagration,
Mm-hmm. What was it looked, when you watch the movie, it looks hot as hell.
Oh, a lot of it really was. It was a hot summer, and those uniforms were very hot.
Yeah,
and
So I mean, it must not be too difficult to act like you're in a combat situation, a miserable situation, when it's actually miserable outside.
Well, that's true enough, because the original battle was on the same, I was, in the
same temperature, same
temperature, same stuff, in the same uniforms. So whatever you're seeing there, I think is just real,
What is it that impressed you the most about the filming?
Well, Ron was something to see. He was. It was like he was running really like a general in battle, with all these thousands of people to deal with. And he was so in his element and so excited about every new day,
Uh-huh.
And he'd say, oh, God, there's only 18 days left of shooting, and that was depressing him, because he just would have gone on forever. He just loved it, and that was great fun.
Yeah, I mean that's got to be an undertaking, especially shooting the Pickett's Charge scene. But any battle scene has got to be a real piece of work. I mean, you got the planning that needs to go into it, and then the coordination. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, and the filming of it, and this and that. I remember there was a drone that they tried to use to film. And, and I think there was raindrops on the lens and whatnot, but that was a very new thing at the time. Yeah.
I think they were actually remote controlled helicopters, like heavy duty remote controlled helicopters.
That's what it was. Yeah. Well, today it could be called a drone.
A drone. Yeah. But there's, you can tell because when you watch the film and the cannonade begins, the helicopter flies down the line of Confederate cannons, and if it gets the few times where it gets right in front of the muzzle, you can actually see it jolt from the shock waves. So, but I don't remember raindrops or anything. But yeah, you could definitely tell when they go over to the because I think that was shot on video. if I'm not mistaken.
Was it? I didn't. I don't even know. I just remember that as a little thing that stuck in my head.
Well, the quality of it is not the same. So I'm imagining it's either video and then also, how are you getting film reels on that helicopter as well as the camera? You're going to need a real helicopter sooner or later,
Well, so, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So it probably was, just to get footage.
Yeah, but it's cool. I mean, it's an amazing undertaking.
It all worked.
Yeah, it did. So now, after Gettysburg, what did you do? You continue with theater. Have you been working in theater nonstop since then, or what are you doing?
Well, basically, mostly. I wrote a novel. That was about 800 pages, so that took me ages.
Okay.
And that was fine, but I recently did a play here. If you ever heard of The Butcher Boy, Pat McCabe. I played the butcher boy, all grown up, in a mental hospital, and it was just a two-hander with Peter O'Toole's daughter, Kate O'Toole.
Oh, cool!
And anyway, that was fun.
You're friends with the daughters of a lot of Hollywood legends.
Oh yeah, no. Over the years, I know so many of them.
Yeah.
My friend Kelly Curtis, her parents were, Tony Curtis.
Tony Curtis, yeah.
And his beautiful wife.
But not Janet Leigh.
Oh yeah, that's her mother's Janet Leigh. Yeah.
Oh, so this is Jamie Lee Curtis' sister.
She is a beauty as well. I think she's way prettier than her sister that made it big.
Interesting.
And she's just a wonderful actress. She's a member of the Actors Studio, and she just was just terrific. But for some reason, didn't get the big career,
Yeah.
And and I know Anthony Quinn, daughter of Anthony Quinn, and I thought it wouldn't be hard to say. There was a lot of friends anyway that had big stars, and I got to meet a lot of big stars over being around in the 70s when they were still knocking about,
Yeah, but that old batch of stars there, the Peter O'Toole era, those guys are.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen those videos on YouTube of Peter O'Toole and Richard Harris talking about
with their stories and all that? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how could you not love those people? I mean,
they're just fun. Yeah, they would inspire me to be an actor. I think that kind of thing.
See, that's good because they inspired me to be a drinker, and
I didn't need any inspiration for that.
Did you have an issue with the booze?
Oh no, not an issue. Just that it's something I enjoy in a responsible way.
Of course.
But no, I enjoy it. I love the pubs of Dublin, so I'm in the right place.
So how often do you get back to the United States?
Well, I was there last summer and the summer before, briefly. And so just now and again,
Yeah, because you still have family back here. I met your sister.
Oh, I do, yeah. Mostly Michigan.
I met your sister and her friend. Did she bring one or two friends with her when you were out here?
She was with two friends.
Two friends, yeah. They were fun. One lady played the spoons.
Oh, yes. Chris Quinlan, yes.
Yeah.
I used to live with her. I lived with her for about 10 years back in the day.
Yeah, I think, didn't she say, did you know her first and then she became friends with your sister or something like that?
Oh, yeah. My sister, they just traveled down together, really. That's Chris, yeah.
Yeah.
I met her in college. She was in my Irish history class and my Irish literature class and my Gaelic class.
Spent a lot of time together.
Kinds of things, yeah.
So you speak Gaelic. You speak it fluently?
Oh, yeah.
Now, yeah, see, that's amazing that you actually said those are actually words that someone else would understand if they spoke Gaelic, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I just said, I've been speaking it since I was a wee lad.
And I always find it confusing because when you read it and then you hear how that word is pronounced, like I can't make the connection,
Well, that's it. The orthography is very different than English, but once you know it and you know what those letters actually, represent, it's pretty regular in that way.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, of course. See, I'm one of these people where if I don't know all of it, but just by looking at it in the first try, then I'm not even going to bother because it's just too hard,
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so that's my problem is I give up on everything. So how long did it take you to speak Gaelic? And you taught yourself Gaelic?
When I was about 12 or so, I took the bus down to the main library in Detroit, and I found a book called Teach Yourself Irish. And I was going to take it out, but I realized that I couldn't learn this in 2 weeks. So I slipped it into my pants, and they had no detectors in those days, and I stole the book. And then I sent off for records from Ireland, big, thick, albums. And worked away at it like that, And then when I was at Ann Arbor, I met a fellow who was a native speaker. His first language was Irish, and he was there, and I talked him into teaching it. He said nobody would be interested, but I put signs up around the campus, and we ended up with enough for 2 classes, and that was 2 salaries for him, so he was delighted in the 400 linguistics department. So it was great. And then I worked with him for a while, and he ran the Linguistics Institute here later. So he was a very good teacher.
So I guess when you're younger, it's easier. See, I'm thinking I'd like to learn another language, but I'm too old, to learn something new. And every time I try to teach myself, I just give up very easily. So when you're younger, your brain is like a sponge.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But it's never too late, I'd say.
Yeah, I'll try. Who knows?
There's so much stuff on the internet to learn any of these languages now that you can, these different courses and things that, it's much better than just trying with a book and a record.
I tried to learn Sioux or Lakota.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, it would. I figured if I'm going to learn an instrument or a language, let me learn something that no one else is speaking. Well,
that's what Irish was when I was learning it at that age.
Yeah, but it probably comes in handy over there now.
Oh yeah, it's very handy. Yeah, I did a 2-hour documentary about the Irish Brigade.
Yes,
and it was for the Smithsonian Channel. It's called Fog and Balloch, and I had to do it all in Irish, all the presentation. And then we would do it over in English.
Interesting.
For the American, the Smithsonian thing,
Right.
And so that was great. I was amazed to make a bit of money with the Irish language, But now there's a lot of it. There's a big television station here and whatnot,
That's all Gaelic?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Is Civil War? I have a friend. Or he's really a listener, but he's become a buddy. I've never met him. He lives over in a little town called Points Pass there in Ireland.
Oh, that's up in the north, yeah.
Yeah. And he says that, that his grandmother used to tell him about the town doctor who came over here when the war broke out to be the doctor for some of the Irish soldiers that were fighting because he knew that, there were a lot of Irish immigrants that were in our war. And then after the war was over, he came back and stayed there in Points Pass. Is the American Civil War a thing over there, or am I just hearing from the few people that have a thing for it?
Oh, it has a lot of people who are interested in it here. I remember one time I was out in Connemara, and I ran into a young fellow who had no English. He only spoke Irish, but he could read English. And so he had read up all about the Civil War. And I had this long conversation with him in Irish about the Civil War and whatever I knew about it at the time,
Wow.
Which that amazed me altogether. Most people now have both languages, but you'd still find a few out there that have resisted.
Yeah, no, so he could read in English, but he couldn't speak it. So he could comprehend what he was reading.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, and he knew everything. It was like talking to a reenactor. It was an amazing character.
Huh. That is interesting. Yeah. That is interesting. Yeah. So, do you have plans of coming back to the States anytime soon? Maybe coming back to Gettysburg? Get recognized?
Well, if the next time they invite me, I'll try to make it. You know, for any of these things like that. No immediate plans for that now at this point. I'm going to put up the Richard Burton show again here. That's been about 13 years since I did it, and I've been relearning it and whatnot. So I'm going to put that up on once the theaters get properly open again. When you can have a full house and not have people 5 seats apart. Yeah,
good luck with that.
Oh, I know. That's the way I feel. Jesus,
I know.
Never give this a rest.
It's just abuse, I think.
Oh, I thought so from the start, but there we are.
Well, now it's undeniable. I thought so from the start too, but everybody called me crazy.
Yeah.
Well, if John and I are talking, we've been talking since the last one about trying to put together another one before all the old guys disappear.
Yeah, I like that word. Yeah.
But Ron Maxwell wants to wait until 2023, since that's the 20th anniversary of Gods and Generals.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Why not?
But
that's not far off.
No, it isn't. But when he started saying that it was like 3 years ago, and then we were like, well, who knows where we'll be in 3 years? So we were, nervous. But now that's only next year, so maybe it's just best to do it on. But we're trying to get something going, so we'll let you know. For sure. Brian, thank you very much. Do you have any kind of online presence where people might be able to follow you or just find out what it is that you've got going on now or anything like that?
I don't at present. Not really, I had a great website and I somehow let it go, and I'm going to put it back up. So,
well, you should at least start like an Instagram or something.
Should do something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on Facebook. And that's
because here's the thing, and I tell this to Bo all the time because he doesn't have anything either. He does, but he doesn't use it. But like guys like Patrick Gorman, they've got this huge fan club online because they not only do they have an account, but they make themselves accessible. They answer the fans back, and the people love it. So I don't know.
He's he really tends to all that in a good way.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So I don't know if that is anything that interests you. I mean, it's a good idea to do because I know that people listening to this would love to keep up with everybody and see what they do. But whatever. I don't blame you if you don't want one because they're horrible burdens to have, these social media accounts.
No.
But so, all right. Well, then how about this? If there's any big news that you have that you want people to know, let me know, and then I'll tell everybody in the audience.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll be your social media.
Oh, good man.
Yeah, there you go.
Calorie. All
right, Brian. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Let me wish a Happy New Year to all your listeners and all the old Gettysburg gang.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I'll make sure they hear that.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much, Brian, and thank you all for listening. Hey, everyone. As we celebrate the 30th anniversary of the movie Gettysburg, which caused so many of us to want to dive deeper into the Battle of Gettysburg, I hope you enjoyed this full release of one of our Patreon episodes. And if you appreciate that we released it to you for free, maybe you'd want to consider becoming a patron and supporting Addressing Gettysburg as we bring the history, culture, and fun of learning about the Battle of Gettysburg to you weekly over at patreon.com/addressinggettysburg. I look forward to seeing you there.